our video lecture for this week. So if you could still remember, our last activity or last demonstration was creating frames. So our goal for this particular topics is for us to create a GUI for our application, which will be used in creating events. So last week, yung nagawa natin is we have successfully created frames, di ba? We have created an object of an instance of a frame, ito, using JFrame. We have also created a terminate function that will allow us to terminate the program by just clicking the X button. And of course, we have set the size of the frame, and then we have also set the visibility of the frame so that we can see it. So for this week, what we will be doing is that we will be creating labels. So for definition, I got my reference from this website. They base their documentation on the official documentation of Java, so it's still okay. So a Java label, accordingly, is a component for placing text in a container. It is used to display a single line of read-only text, and then the text can be changed by a programmer, but a user cannot edit it directly. So what does it mean? So ibig sabihin, si Java label, the one who can create it is only programmer, or the one who's creating the program, and the one who can modify it is of course the one who's creating the program. So ang purpose ni JLabel actually is for identification. Like for example, you created a text box and then the user will ask, what will I type on this text box? So to address that kind of problem, what you will do is you identify the text box using label. So in a simple term, you are creating a particular identification tag to the text box na. For example, you place a J label about first name. So automatically, the text box next to it will be filled out by the user with his or her first name, di ba? So yan yung purpose ni JLabel. So just like JFrames, si JLabel din, it requires libraries. So let's start. So just like JFrames din, yung pagkakatawag sa kanya is JLabel. Please make sure na you created it with a what they call this one, with the correct spelling. Pansin nyo, si letter L sa JLabel is naka uppercase. So let's create first the object for JLabel, and then automatically, if you notice, si Java Eclipse is nagre-require siya na you need to import first a library before you can use it. So for example, this one, no, diba? It was able to suggest na ayan. So after creating this one, automatically si Java Eclipse is magsasuggest na, hey, you need to import first this library before you can use this one. Okay? So ayan, if you notice, if I put a lowercase l, is hindi siya gagana. But if it's an uppercase, ayan, okay na yan. Okay? Now let's try to see if it's really for text. Kasi sabi kanina, by the way, yung object na name natin is label. So let's try to use label and then for a single line text. Okay? So yung gagawin natin is label.setText, and then automatically may syntax dyan na lalabas. So sabi dito, inside this area, you need to write a string text. Okay? So enclose natin into double quotes, tapos write natin, are you even watching this? Okay? So ito, if I will try to run this one, ayan, ba? If you notice, walang lalabas. It's because since we are using frame as our canvas, we need to put something here. So add natin si label as part of the frame. Okay? So what you will do is just type frame.add, and then automatically si label will be part of an option. And then just type something like this one, frame.add, and then label. So if I will run this one, ayan, if you notice, di ba? If you notice, in-stretch ko muna kasi in Mac, ito yung medyo I already sent a complaint about this one. Tsaka pa siya lalabas if I will do some resizing on my part. Ayan. But in Windows, I tried this one. Automatic naman siyang lalabas. Okay? So don't worry about it. So, ayan. We have successfully created a single line of text using JLabel. So actually, since we can create this one, you can also create some changes or modification on how you present this single line text. Okay? So let's try first having, ano muna? Let's try to have muna the position of the text. Try natin if ano ba talaga. If lalabas ba talaga siya on a particular area or hindi. Okay? But before that, I forgot to mention about this one. So, you kindly go to your Google search engine, and then you please search Among Us icon because we will be using it in our demonstration. And then after after searching it, you kindly save it in your, as to where did you, what do you call this one? Where did you happen to save your Eclipse workspace? Ayan. So, for example sa akin, after creating the file that I am using since last week, Eclipse Workspace will be provided. Ibig sabihin, this directory will be used to save your applications or projects na gagawin. So, you kindly locate it. Usually, it could either be in your applications folder, it could either be in your documents, or even in your local disk C. Look for it na lang. And then after that one, you go to your project. So if you could still remember, this project is named as Java GUI 2T. So you kindly go to that folder, you go to the source folder, and then you save the image there. And then kindly name it as dude.png. Okay? So si dude.png, I will be using it sa succeeding natin nga activity. Okay? Especially in JLabels. So, before we do modifications in JLabel, I'd like to, I'd like to, what do you call this one? I'd like to introduce also another concept in JLabel. So, aside from text, actually, JLabel can also be represented by an icon or an image. So, yun yung purpose ni Among Us kanina. So, for example, this one. I'd like to use the dude icon na ginamit ko. Okay? So, let's have muna image icon. So, don't worry again kasi the libraries for this one will be suggested later. So, don't worry about the library. So, the first thing that we need to do is, of course, ayan na. Let's try to import first the image kasi if we will not do it, then it will not be present or it will not be displayed in our frame. Okay? So, ayan. So, if you notice, meron siyang error. So, what you will just do is just click this one and then, ayan. Si image icon, ayan. So, icons, later on, will be used also as part of the label. So, ayan, oh. So, we have already successfully imported this one. What we will do is that we'll try to call it, okay? Set natin si icon. So, si icon, hindi siya sa icon ng, ng window, but rather, doon siya, it will be used as part of the frame. So, magiging background siya, or even in the longer run, you can use it as part of, no longer as a background, but as part of your frame na talaga. Okay? So, set muna natin si icon, and then, let's call si image. Okay? Ayan. Label.set icon. Let's try to see what will happen. Okay? Ayan. So, if you notice, yung position ni label ay are you even watching this, and then the icon is the same, diba? So, the first one is si are you even watching this was placed actually kanina, it was placed it was placed on the center and then left part, diba? Pansin nyo, diba? It was on the left part. Kindly take notice on how they by default position the icon. Same lang din sila. So, ibig sabihin, this one is not treated as an image but rather as a label. Okay? So, now, let's try to position si icon. Okay? So, position natin siya. So, yung pag-position, don't worry. Meron siyang, for example, you have it here. Set horizontal. So, pag horizontal alignment yung horizontal text position, let's try to see what will happen. So, si JLabel daw, dot center. Okay, so this one sets the text either left, center, or right of the image icon. Okay, so yung options niya is again yung options niya is either center, left, or right of the icon. Okay, so lagyan natin dito ng comment para para we can remember. So set text either left, center, or right of the icon. Okay? Let's try to see if meron bang changes na mangyayari. Okay. So again, label set horizontal text position left, center, or right. Kasi it's horizontal man. So ibig sabihin yung paggawa sa kanya is from left to right. Okay? So let's try to see if it works. Ayan. If you notice, Are You Even Watching This is pumatong doon sa what do you call this one? Pumatong doon sa ating icon na si Among Us, di ba? So that's how you do modifications on your label. So pag horizontal, pwedeng pa left, pwedeng pa center, pwedeng pa right of the icon, okay? So another one, you also have label that kung merong horizontal, meron din siyang vertical, okay? So set vertical. So I'd like to apologize for my background kasi medyo maingay, pero I hope you can still hear me properly. So for the position, you can just type either top, center, or bottom kasi from top to bottom naman yung pag vertical, di ba? So again, JLabel dot, for example, top. Okay? And then ganyan. So again, please be careful with your spelling kasi usually yan yung magiging error niya. But don't worry if you're using a good IDE, they will recommend. So ayan. So ito naman, if this one is from left to right, yung pangalawa namang changes na ginawa ko is that you set the text either in top, center, or bottom, or top to bottom. Okay? So let's try to see if ano yung mangyayari. Okay? Someone sent me some Gcash. Thank you so much. Okay. So you have it here. Ayan. If you notice kanina, 'di ba? Let's try to comment it out muna. Kanina pag nung wala pa yung vertical text position, yung nangyayari is something like this, 'di ba? Nakapatong si Are You Even Watching Us sa image icon or nasa center siya. Pero by the time na we configured it na yung vertical text position niya is on the top of the icon, ayan. Ayan. If you notice, ang nangyari is that the text we have created was positioned on top of the icon. So what if we will try to change it into bottom naman? Okay. Ayan. Let's try to see. Ayan. If you notice, oh, diba? So this one is really a good practice if you are creating graphical user interface na you would want the user to be informed as to what should be placed, what should be inputted on that particular component. Okay? So if we can do some, what we call this one, some changes on the position, we can also do some changes on the way we present it. For example, that the color of the text. So to do that one, you can just type label dot set foreground. Okay. Yung foreground is actually for the color. Okay. So let's try to have color dot blue. So actually, pwede kang, you can have, what do you call this one? You can have the hexadecimal value for the color, but then for me, I tried to do it na, na lang, yung fixed color talaga. But for those who are into, into graphic talaga na, they would want a specific shade of color, you can use the hexadecimal values. So another thing, color is another component in Java Swing, okay? So you need to import that one. Ayan. So if you notice, merong another library na add sa ating itaas. So after using color, automatically Eclipse will suggest na hey, you import this one because this one is needed for it to run. So if I will run this one, ayan, if you notice, ayan, see, are you even watching this? From black is naging blue. Okay? That's for position, changing the font color. Okay? Set font color. Lagyan natin dyan. Another thing also is that you could even do some modifications on how, or not how, but what particular font style or font format would you want your text to be presented. So to do that one, you need to have this kind of syntax, or you need to use this one. Set font, tapos lagay mo lang new, and then new font, and then automatically meron siyang ibibigay na space wherein you are to specify anong font style, anong format, at anong size. Okay? So for example, ito. Let's have I like Arial, so let's have Arial, and then let's have another one, yung font that plain. Ayan, oh. You could either have it plain, bold, italic. Ayan, let's have plain na lang muna. Kasi para hindi tayo malito. And then you specify the font size. Okay? So if you notice, meron naman tayong library na dapat i-import. So that is font. Okay? Wait muna ha. Let's try to muna if this one is the correct one. Set font, new. This method, wait muna natin ha. I think this one should not have a space. Ayan. Try natin i-import. Dapat meron siyang i-import dito. Ayan. You have it here. Import font. Okay. So let's now try to check if it works or not. Ayan, di ba? Medyo lumaki, and then nag-iba yung presentation niya. Okay? Now, let's try to have for example, you would want to have a gap between your images. Okay? So to do that one, what you will do is to set the, what do you call this one? The gap of the icon and then the text. So, yung lalagyan natin ng gap is of course, ayan o, si text, but then it's based on the position of the icon. Okay? So, set icon text gap. Try natin si 25. Okay. Ayan, di ba? Kanina, when I was not using text gap, yung itsura niya is something like this. Okay? Diba? Medyo close siya sa icon. But by the moment I use text gap 25, and then I set it to 25, automatically, ayan, medyo lumayo na siya. Okay? So that's how you set some text gap between the icon. So right now, we'll try to add some background on our components. Okay? So let's try to set the background. First, what we need to do is to set it by using this code. Okay? So set background, ayan. Tapos automatically yung syntax niya, lagay mo daw yung color, tapos ano yung gusto mong color. Okay? So if we will try to run this one, yung mangyayari is something like this. Okay, by the way, I have configured yung frames natin para hindi na ako magre-resize. Okay, let's try to have it 900 by 900 para alam natin. Okay, so after setting the background color into black, you notice na walang nangyayari, di ba? Nothing happened. It's because it's just like the same concept with our frame, not unless we provide a configuration that this particular changes should be visible, is hindi siya mangyayari. So, same concept yung gagawin natin sa ating background for the labels. What we will do is, we'll try to set it instead of visible, yung sa label is yung ginagamit nilang syntax is yung sa opaque. So, set opaque. Yan. Yung spelling niya is O-P-A-Q-E. Tapos, set lang natin into true. Ayan. Okay. So, pansin nyo, si background color na black is already visible, but then the problem is that it was, it created, or not it created, but it consumed the whole frame space, di ba? So, later on, let's try to see if meron ba tayong magagawa para, what do you call this one? Para yung frame lang yung malalagyan niya ng background color. Okay? So, to do that one, let's try to, move some, let's try to have some vertical and horizontal alignments of our components. Okay? So, to do that one, kung gusto mo na yung both components natin is, what do you call this one? Both components or all of the components under label will be positioned on a particular area of the frame. What you will do is that instead of specifying text, what you will do is label.set vertical alignment. Yung vertical alignment niya is hindi siya text position but vertical alignment talaga. Yung pagkakaiba nila is that on our first attempt natin on positioning, we specified na yung text lang. But this one, we specified na lahat ng label or lahat ng label components. Okay? So what we will do is that we'll try to call all of the label components. Ayan. So JLabel, again, make sure naka-uppercase yung label natin. JLabel.top, tapos close natin. I hope it works. Ayan. Let's try to see anong mangyayari. Ayan, di ba? So it's now placed on the top. Now let's try to do the other one. Lagyan natin sila sa center. So label.set horizontal. So I'm providing you with a lot of options para if and ever you will need to do some realignment, you know already what to do. Okay? Dot center. Okay. Tapos run natin. If you notice, nasa gitna na siya. Okay? Okay. Now let's go with setting the boundaries, or maglagay muna tayo ng border. 'Di ba kanina we would want na yung whole black is hindi natin like the whole black should not consume the whole frame. So the first thing that we need to do is use border. So border is another component in Java GUI. So we need to create an object for that one. So border, ayan, equals border factory. So don't worry ha, to be honest, I did not memorize all of this. I also have a documentation with me para alam ko kung ano yung gagawin ko. It's not necessary na you memorize all of this one kasi nga marami po ito. Okay? So specify natin na color green para may contrast. Okay? So if you notice, just like what we did earlier on in the previous tutorial, we created an object and then automatically it will provide us or suggest na hey, you import this component kasi hindi siya gagana if we will not do it. Okay? So let's now use the border. So let's have label set border. Ayan. Tapos ano yung name ng border natin? Border din. Okay? So let's try to run this one. If you notice, meron na siyang green, di ba? On the edges, meron na siyang green line. Okay? So try natin na yung label lang yung lalagyan niya ng green. I hope it works. So to do that one, we need to use boundaries. So we need to set boundaries on the label. So label set bounds. Tapos meron siyang ibibigay sa atin na what do you call this one? Syntax. Yung syntax niya is we set first, yung first daw is yung X position. Tapos yung set bounds, it follows the syntax na X, Y, di ba? Yung sa Cartesian plane. Tapos yung size or yung size of the frame. So 250, for example, ano ba? Yung dimension pa ng frame. So dalawang measurements yung kukunin niya. So measurement 1 tapos measurement 2. Okay? So dito, let's have first the positioning. Like for example, we would want na the border will be on the upper corner. You can just have it 0, 0. And then let's try to have it na yung dimension ng frame niya is 250 by 250. So it's actually measured in pixel. So let's try to see what will happen. Okay, hindi siya gumana. Check muna natin kung paano siya pagaganahin. Okay. Try nating adjust yung ano natin. Yung frame natin. Baka tsaka pa siya lalabas. O yan. So medyo nalakihan ko yung frame kanina. So what you will do is that you make sure na it's 500 and then if you notice si frame ay yung background natin is already secluded for ano muna for the label components natin na ginamit. So for example, I would want to change this one like the x-axis is 100. Try to see what will happen. Ayan, di ba? Medyo nagpa-center siya. Try naman nating ibaba. Like for example, a 150. Let's try to see if magiging sa gitna ba siya. Ayan, di ba? Medyo nasa gitna na siya. So let's try to have it like 100 na lang muna para hindi masyadong malaki. Okay, ayan, di ba? So what if we will try to change this one, like the dimension of the frame? So gusto natin gawing 300 by 300. So if you notice, mas very convenient if you have the same sizes with your length and width para hindi siya masyadong ano. O di ba? O medyo malaki na yung frame natin. Yung border pala, sorry. Medyo malaki na yung border na we specified, okay? So for example, we'll have 400 by 300. I think this one will eat. Ayan, medyo malaki na yan. Okay? So kung gusto mong palakihin yung width niya, change this one. If gusto mong palakihin yung height niya, gawin mo tong ano, you make changes on the other value. Okay? Ayan o. Diba? So ayan. Again, this is just a preliminary activities on how to create GUI. I hope you learned something new for this day. If you have questions, you can comment it down below and then I'll be providing 2 activities for you that you need to comply. Yung deadline niya is I think next week pa. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me today and I hope you learned something. Thank you.